Sit back, relax. Try to maintain your composure. You are about to become connected.
Welcome to the Connect Podcast, episode 29. Today you have Shaun and Tess in your ear, chatting about stuff that's relevant. Today's topic is oil, which is a big topic because it's one thing that seems to run the world these days.
It doesn't seem to, it does. It literally runs all world economies and, it could be the basis behind everything. It actually could be the meaning of life. Oil. Well, it rules our life so fiercely. Puts food on our table. It in mass quantities. It pretty much, any single thing that you can look around wherever you are right now. I can guarantee even everyone looking, oil has gotten that there.
Yeah.
Oil
played some part in it.
Yeah. Played some part in that, getting that there. Pretty much anything that you can see in your vision at this moment.
Yeah. So we're
oil
talking
has gotten it there.
all plastics, all production of food, pesticides, fertilizers, all fuels, for medicines,
Everything. I mean, the way that we run our society today is anything that's actually transported anywhere now takes oil. So that's
for
oil.
that, for starters, but then plastic is all made from
But
oil.
also, what the
stuff.
item is probably wrapped in, to then also, what the transportation device, whether it's a car, it's a ship, it's a whatever, it's painted with oil-based stuff. It's got oil in the tyres. It's got oil in the engines. It's combustion engines run by oil.
Lubricant.
Just anything. Every single part of every single device that moves things from one point to another now is simply because of oil.
So oil plays a massive part in all of our lives around the world. So today we just want to talk about issues that surround the fact that we're so reliant on it and how it's come to be in our society and the things that it has sparked among us, like war and how the trade works around it. So we're going to talk about...
I think a good place to start is definitely...
What is oil?
Well, I think a lot of people ask, well, how did... when you ask people a question, how did the population density get to 7 billion people in a space of around about 100 years? Okay, how? It was probably a bit longer than that. But, how is that even possible? When for 1 million years throughout the evolution of the human species, we didn't really get over 1 billion. We couldn't, and then suddenly what happened, and this is actually what happened, it wasn't because of some amazing, birth rate or this or evolution of consciousness or anything like that. It was literally because we learned how to burn ancient sunlight. We learned how to get oil out of the ground, burn it, so we could transport food, so we could build refrigerators which stored food, so we could, make medicine-based, pesticides, everything that we take for granted today in a Western sense or in any sense really has got to do, and the population density that we've seen in the past 150 years has gone from 1 billion to 7 billion is pretty much 95% related to oil.
Yeah.
Sure, you've got some things like medicine and that sort of thing has definitely helped people live longer and help people be healthier, medical breakthroughs. But the reason why we are sitting here today and I'm talking into a microphone and we're deciding to do a podcast is pretty much because of oil. It's the good points of it, the bad points of it, and everything in between.
It's just been this massive injection of energy in such a small amount of time. The Industrial Revolution was just basically an explosion of available energy for society to use for its own ends. And I'd like to, I think it's worth thinking about how oil is created in that way. So, oil... Sean's trying to eat the cat's tail.
Yes.
That's not going to help.
Yes. Continue.
So, how oil is created. It's basically just condensed organic matter that has been sitting underground under intense heat and pressure for long periods of times, millions and millions of years. To the point where we're thinking that I think the oil that we're...
The main part of oil is plankton. Was
it can be
sea matter,
algae or plankton.
Yeah, matter from the sea when the planet was mainly water and
So if you're talking about oil that's formed underneath the sea, it's plankton, but underneath land, then I think it's a lot of the time it's just like old forests, really. Essentially, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But the way I like to think of it is that oil is just all the life that has ever lived on the planet condensed into one mass.
Yeah.
And when we're drilling it and burning it and using it now, it's like we've discovered all the energy that went into all the life over these millions and millions of years. And we're talking 60 million years or something was or more.
Longer than that. We're talking, a billion.
Oh yeah, you can form over all that time. But I think that that was
years.
the age of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at all the energy that went into making these life forms live. We are now just taking it out of the ground and using it up in 200 years. And so what it's kind of like you can see why we have flourished and why we've grown and progressed and developed. Because we've just had this influx of energy, ancient energy that has just come into our being.
Perfect.
And so it's like obvious that when this energy runs out, our civilization will plateau, won't it? It will decline, because that energy is not available anymore. It's just a balancing equation.
Unless we find a way to be able to harness it. But the perfect analogy, harness new alternatives. The perfect analogy is that it's the human species, if you like fairy tales and you like Twilight and that sort of thing, the human species at the moment, and from what we've been doing for the past 150 years, are essentially vampires sucking ancient energy out of the ground to be able to live when the sun goes down. Basically, when the sun goes down, because the reason why we didn't hit a population of 7 billion sooner than what we did is because the sun is the energy which creates plants, which creates everything that human beings basically need to survive. So photosynthesis from the heat of the sun, which creates plant matter so we can eat. So what oil allowed us to do is allowed us to burn fossil fuel, which in turn allowed us to create infrastructure which would allow plants and food matter to grow of a night time, so we could increase production, so we could feed more people, so we could create abundance, which in turn has allowed us to multiply the population at an extremely rapid rate. So we've been sucking the earth dry of this ancient sunlight, so that we can live of a night, basically. So that the world can be a 24-hour 7-Eleven, non-stop. We can just keep it rocking like a Vegas-style situation. I think it's beautiful. We've got a beautiful view of Melbourne City. But, the lights stay on all night and fucking, it's like when you look at any cityscape, you're like, oh, that's beautiful, all the tall buildings and skyscrapers and all that, but all the lights are fucking on and that sort of thing. Why are all the lights on? There's no one in there. There might be some cleaners or something, but, that sort of thing. So that's the analogy I like to use, the vampire analogy. Because now, we're a 24-hour one-stop shop, because we're smart enough to burn oil and suck it out of the ground. And
the best image I've ever seen of an oil refinery was just in sort of flat plain with an oil refinery chimney, smoke coming out, and then in the background is this huge red sun, the sunset, and it's just glaringly obvious that this sun is there, right there. There's so much energy in it, just it's full of it, and we are burning this crap out of the ground. Not crap, oil.
It's amazing. Well, you know,
and polluting our planet when we've got so many other options available to us, but we've just developed this like crazy industry and monetary reliance around it, like military industrial complex, you know, around
it's fucking
oil that we just can't seem to shake it off. And
it's it's crap. People like don't. Yeah, you got to understand the powers invested in maintaining the status quo and maintaining business as usual when it comes to profits in regard to oil. Like it's the biggest fucking industry in the world, the oil industry, the energy industry, and I mean, if anyone thinks that, like, just because we've got these other, you know, energies that are probably a bit more freer for the human race to be able to utilise and clean energy, so we don't really have to keep paying, you know, through the nose for this fucking product that they have to suck out of the ground, like, you know. We could put solar and wind and fucking tidal, you know, turbines and fucking panels and shit everywhere, and without a doubt, like without an absolute doubt, they could sustain Earth. There's absolutely no questions about that. So the fact that we decide not to do it and keep polluting at the rate that we are at such an extreme rate, like for the concept of growth in the economy, shows you how self-destructive our incentive of economic gain is.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and I mean, this artificial incentive of economic satisfaction and short-term economic gain, and us deciding to look past the, you know, brutal statistics would say that if we continue this sort of nonsense and continue this pollution, you know, global warming's going to, like, pretty much destroy our way of life. But at the end of the day, business as usual. We've got to keep the profit margins rolling, and we've got to keep making sure that we're pumping this oil out of the ground and we're selling it. And I mean, you know, until the general population stands up and fights tooth and nail to change this, nothing will change ever. I can absolutely 110% guarantee you. Until your house starts getting flooded, yeah, until you have a family member that lives near the water and starts having extreme weather and starts getting their house flooded, they lose their property, no one will do anything. They don't care. They don't do the research. They don't do the reading. It's silly. All the information's out there. It's, you know, probably one of the biggest problems that we'll ever face as a human species up to this point, because it's a cul-de-sac. It's a hurdle that we have to get over. It's a situation that we have to go, hold on, it's time for us to evolve, it's time for us to grow up, it's time for us to go, these outdated methods are no longer useful. We need to take the good, leave the bad. The bad is burning fossil fuel, the good is embracing new energy. Unfortunately, the system that runs the world at the moment does not allow us to do that, which is why we're in the predicament that we are. So it's time to grow up. It's time for and that only comes from the population. Only comes from the general population. Me and you, Tessa, people listening, have to stand up for what's right, because I can fucking guarantee you the people earning all the money from these destructive environmental practices are never going to change. No government can make them change. No one can make them change. Put a carbon tax on, charge the population more. You know, fucking whatever. At the end of the day, they're not losing anything. What do they care? You know, we just have to pay more. Now we're paying for air. We got a tax on air.
Yes, the economy is extremely inflexible with this, I think. Like, it's, as much as we know what the right thing is to do, we simply cannot change, because every aspect of our economy and our industry and our lives is conditioned and created and around oil and the use of oil. So even if we want to change, it's going to be such a long road. Like, even if we recognise that, apart from the first initial resistance of the people in power who just want to make money, yes, I understand that definitely is an obstacle in front of us that we need to, get them out of the way first. But even then, when we all are in the same boat, we've got a massive task ahead of us, because everything is based on being able to to work, because we've got oil there. Yeah. So what's going to happen to all the cars on the road? They're all reliant on oil. Like, how are we going to figure out how to make them work? Even if we figure out some sort of other liquid fuel that could possibly go in the tank, all those cars are still going to have some modification done to them, surely, to make them be compatible with the new fuel. So it's just where it's going to be a massive, massive task and a challenge. And as I said, it's not just going to be a matter of innovation and invention. It's also going to be a matter of political transformation. Yeah. And I think it's worth talking about how, oil trade is linked in with, wars. And one big topic that I think is central to this is the petrodollar. Yeah. So, basically, the petrodollar is a term used to describe the currency in which oil is traded around the world. And at the moment, and over the last, really for however long oil has been such a massive part of our life, it's been traded only in the American dollar. And that has caused a really interesting situation. So basically, I think what happened was I kind of looked up some stuff, and I think it kind of started in the 1970s. And Britain, and so they've got all the Middle Eastern countries with most of the oil, and Britain and the US started to get a bit concerned about them, about their access to oil, and they realised how dependent they were, and wanted to strengthen their own, economic power and all that. So they sort of said to the Middle Eastern countries, if you can guarantee that you'll only sell your oil in the dollar, the US dollar, we will support, we will reward you with arms and I think power in the IMF as well, the International Monetary Fund. Yep. They said they were going to reward them with that. So, that's just blatant. Like, of course, it's beneficial for the US for them to have dictators in power in Middle Eastern states, because they're the ones that they can control. The US can have under their thumb. So ever since then, it's been being traded in the US dollar, and then lo and behold, in 2000, 1 year before 9/11. Saddam Hussein threatened to put the petrodollar into euros and create a petro-euro, and of course that's a massive threat to the whole American economy. So I guess they decided to go into Iraq and do what they did, and it just happened to be conveniently explained away by a revenge from a terrorist attack that happened on September 11, 2001.
There's many stories like this, like Syria and fucking, and also, not so much Syria, but Libya and all these countries have tried to move away in a particular instance in the gold related or petrodollar related from the American gold, from the American monetary standard of the American dollar. And just funnily enough, their leaders have been either assassinated or there's been coups in the country. Same with fucking all South American countries and everything.
And you can see the next country is Iran. They before 2006, they said that in 2006 they're going to try and create I don't know what the word is, but a situation where they're in charge of the oil trade, and they're going to sell it to the yen, Japanese yen, the euro, the dollar. Yeah. All these different currencies, and of course that was another threat to the US, and so that was when they began to hate Iran as well. Yep. So it's kind of a little bit see-through, but that really does explain a lot, doesn't it? But I think it's worth thinking. Yeah, definitely. The petrodollar is crazy. Like, I can't believe how much advantage it gives the American economy. So you've got America and the Federal Reserve, who print money. It doesn't have to be based on any gold or backed by anything substantial. They can just print it as they please. They print the money, They go and they buy the oil, which can only be bought in US dollars. They go and just buy the oil. Then the people that they sell the oil to, the oil producers in the Middle East, they bank their dollars back in New York Wall Street. You know, they invest in America and they bank their dollars back at the Federal Reserve. So it's like, they call it the petrol recycle, where it just, America actually, it's almost like they double gain. And while this whole process is going on, it's like they are going into greater and greater debt, obviously, because the money that gets banked into them isn't really theirs, even though... But it's like a never-ending money tree. It's just never-ending credit for them. And not only that, other countries that want to buy oil, they have to have US dollars. So it's important for them to stockpile US dollars, and so that they can ensure oil, they can have access to oil, which puts greater demand on US dollars, which raises the dollar despite any economic conditions that are actually happening for real in the United States. And also, they will, to get these US dollars, one thing they can do is sell to the US, products and services of their country. So they'll be selling them to them, obviously, at a pretty good price. The US gives them, US dollars to go for their product. They get a good product, the US gets a good product, then the country that sold them the product goes and buys oil from the oil producers in US dollars, and then the oil producers go and bank their money in the US with the dollars. It's just fucked. No wonder America are so intent on defending this situation, because it's so ridiculously good for them.
Yeah.
And I really think that until the American dollar collapses, there's not going to be any end in sight to the atrocities happening around the world, because that is the main driver of how they're able to wield such power. Yeah. That and the military, but they can't fund their military if their dollar goes down. No. So it's all based on the.
Oh, I mean, just that information we just found that apparently there's a lot of major oil producers in America are sitting on large quantities of oil in America, like hundreds of acres, massive sort of basins of oil in America. They're actually not pumping them, and they refuse to pump them. So they're sitting on billions of barrels of oil.
Well, we don't know why they're not pumping them.
Well, they're probably not pumping them because they can get them from other countries at the moment.
Yeah, that's why
take all their shit first, and then when there's none left in the world, we're the only ones with it, and we can just keep powering our military and keep powering our, who we want to have oil at that time,
Yeah.
Why would they just bleed their own country dry, and not just take it from everyone else first with this petrodollar? So, once again, another rabbit hole to stick your head down. It's just fucking ridiculous. The more you look into anything, the more. Well, the general rule of thumb is just follow the money. Wherever the money goes, you get more fucked up people. You get more fucked up interests. You get more people just trying to control and gain more power and consolidate their enormous wealth. Which really, is just a mental sickness, and corporations are, at the moment, under the current system, corporations and big business is really just a negative fucking.
Presence in the world.
Yeah. I was just thinking of a fucking word to say there, and I completely blanked out.
Corporations are.
Yeah, right. Well, they basically just do anything they need to keep making sure that their dollar.
Ruthless.
Yeah, they're ruthless. They keep making sure that the dollars they're making is
But that's what
maximising
I
profit.
find funny is their incentives is all about money. Everything seems to come down to people's greed for money, and everything is like profit. And then I just wonder, well, let's put the meaning behind that, the human meaning behind all this. What are they actually doing it for?
Yeah,
I want to imagine these CEOs and these powerful people who are making all this money. I want to see them on a little screen enjoying their time with all their money. I would like to see what they spend it on, and I would like to see them being happy, because I just can't find the means to an end here. I can't see the human meaning as to why people would go to such lengths for such profit.
It's not only that. It is. It's also Yeah, like think of the definition of like profit. Like, is like the pursuit of profit like a more of just a game? Like, you get rid of profit, get rid of even like the monetary aspect of it. The pursuit to get more, no matter what the cost.
Is the reward?
Is it a game?
Yeah.
It's like a game. Like, let's take out the profit aspect. Let's take out you're not gaining any wealth. Would you do it?
No, I think it's the wealth is a measure of how successful you have been in the challenge. So it's like,
let's take out that earning of money.
No, but you could just say it's an earning of anything. Like, it's that all money is just a way to tally up how successful everyone's been, regardless of what the money can actually mean for your everyday life. I think it is a game.
So what are you saying? Success these days is fucking.
Success is addictive. I think.
But like, success is destructive to our society. Is that what you're saying? Because that's pretty much...
Yeah, maybe.
The current form of success is destructive to the way our humanity on this planet.
I think we reward the wrong things.
Definitely.
We reward the wrong types of behaviour. We reward people who don't care for other people. We reward people who don't care about the environment. You know, we reward people who are determined and will step on other people's toes to get what they want. We don't reward good behaviour. We reward bad behaviour.
Yeah.
And that's obviously an issue, and that's why we have psychopaths in power in most governments and corporations. That's why our world is ruled by psychopaths, and until us, the gentle, lovely, empathetic people, try and step up, then that's going to continue.
That's right.
But I think I reckon that's a really scary thing, going back to the oil, is the occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan, and they've got bases everywhere in Saudi Arabia and Turkey and everywhere in the Middle East. It's scary because when shit goes bad, which seems it's going to soon, they could cut off oil to anyone they want. America will actually have the power to say yes or no to any country whenever they want. They could just go, nah, no oil for you, simply because I'm here.
That's why you've got this sort of like line in the sand with Syria at the moment. Like, America is sort of like, sticking their 2 cents in and that, and Russia and China are saying, no, you're not allowed. Like, you cannot go, like, because once they hit Syria, then they literally have the whole of Iran surrounded. They've got bases in every country. If you look at a map, every country and every single border of Iran is completely surrounded. Iraq on one side, yada yada, like Saudi Arabia on another, like just boom, boom, boom. And Syria is up there near fucking
it's on to the west of Iraq.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
south of Turkey.
But Syria's up there, and like Russia and China at the moment are saying absolutely not. No, you can't go in and you can't do anything there. Which is like really, I think, a last stand sort of situation. Like, I honestly think it'll get nasty if they try and do anything in there. Like, if they go and try and go in there and take over.
But it just fucking pisses me off how as soon as there's any conflict in any area around the world, just on our news here in Australia at home, automatically the first comment is, oh, we're waiting to see what America's response is going to be. Like, fuck off, America. Like, who cares what you think? Why do you
don't get it wrong, there's been 70,000 civilian deaths and massacres. Like, that cunt in power there is fucking massacring civilians. Like, don't get me wrong.
But why is that something that we have to get involved in?
No, I know, but in a perfect world with no ulterior motives, you would want someone to get involved and stop it. You would hope Russia could go in and fucking stop it, or someone, China, I don't give a fuck.
But
that doesn't...
definitely not a perfect world, and there definitely are
ulterior motives. But see, you got two sides of this. You got, Russia and China saying, no, the state is more important than the people. So, the people are trying to revolt against the state in Syria. So, that's one thing. But also then you've got to look at Russia and China, because America would like to go in and put a base in Syria. Okay, let's be serious. They'd like to just drone bomb the fuck out of it, lose West Carolina, put a base in Syria, and they've got another base and another, like, basically embassy in a country where they shouldn't be, and And that's very, like, that's one. Russia doesn't have too many allies left. They had, like, Iraq and Iran and fucking, you know, and fucking also, like, China and Syria and this and that, and they don't have many.
Do you know what else you have to consider, though? America can't form a base in a country where there's a democracy because they have to get consent from the country to be there. So, I mean, you've got to look at the possibility that the media that and the information we're being fed mightn't be correct, and the fact that it could be such that perhaps Syria are in the process of revolting and forming some sort of a more of a democratic situation, and America needs to get in there quick smart and look under the cover of, we know we're helping them, but really they want to occupy before they get too strong and say no.
Well, just think of you know, when you hear America's gone in, you hear on the news, Syria's using these and that weapons, you know, chemical weapons or this or that, and America said that they were going to go in. It's not as simple as that. You know, America has got ulterior motives. Russia, every of the major superpowers all have ulterior motives. At the moment, with everything that I've learned, you know, Russia and China, I don't want to be ruled by them in any way, shape or form, but they're actually looking like the good guys in all this.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is fucking absolutely crazy that, you know, the world has done this full 360. America is in here, because all I can see was what's written on paper and what I can see on the news and what I can read about, and America's just fucking invading all these countries against international law, and Russia and China are trying to veto them, saying you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, what you supposed to believe? You know, they're going in for freedom, for good, but, like, then they go in there and they privatise all the resources, they send all the profits back to America. The people are in worse, you know, state of affairs than before America went in. And you're like, they're not. They're not doing it for any good motivation. They're fucking doing it because they want their resources and they want their money.
I think that's,
you know, and we're being sold fucking lies.
But I think that's the funny thing these days, like we were talking about in the war podcast the other day, is that back in the day, it was, you know, empires and the pharaohs and kings and whatever, they used to blatantly admit that, yes, we are raping and pillaging these faraway lands blatantly because we want to take their resources and we want to take control of their people and whatever. And it was just like, and everyone back at home was like, yeah, we'll go with the empire. We want to do that too. We're all on the same side. Yeah. So there was no reason for transparency because everyone understands that everyone was out there to do that thing. You know, whatever, good or bad, right or wrong, whatever. Who cares? They're all on the same page. But now it's like we all have to we can only ever do things if it's for the good reasons and we're trying to help others and all that. So that leads to people. The motivations really haven't changed. All the empire's intentions are still to rape and pillage and gain resources and expand their empire and expand their power and all that. The motivation's still the same, but now we have to have this fucking cover story to sell it to the public that we're doing it for the right reasons. So now we all have to sit here, just like you and me are doing right now, and try and piece together and connect the dots just so we can fucking figure out what the governments are actually doing. It's bizarre. Why can't they, you know, it would be just really nice if they'd just be out with it, because at the end of the day, they'd still be doing it. Because I mean, some of the things that they're doing are so blatantly clear. Like the petrodollar, it's pretty transparent, that thing is. And so was 9/11. That's pretty fucking obvious.
So was the Fed.
Still nothing we can do about it.
But, like, do you know, that's the funny thing about, like, you know, that's what I heard this Russian reporter say once. He was like, a Russian journalist, he was like, oh, well, you know, see, for any, like, half-educated person in Russia, the media is a lot better to watch, because he goes, you can automatically see the propaganda because it's so blatant. Like, because you don't, they're not trying to trick you. Sort of like that. From where? From Russia. From Russia. Russian propaganda. Like that, they're not trying to trick you because that's what it's like. North Korea. Well, they're not trying to trick you. You know that you know, as in like that's just all there is. But with Western, you know, because we've got such freedom of information and all this sort of stuff,
they're really good at propaganda.
They have to fucking be really fucking good at it.
It's like a, you know, you have really good people who are really good at advertising. They're really skilled. Like, you got to know psychology through and through, and you got to know people in and out to be able to be a good marketer and advertiser. It's like that. It's like you have to be that good in the Western world to feed us propaganda. Other than, like you said, it's a bit different in Russia and that.
That's actually probably the sort of like the problem that we face today with, especially a society, especially in Australia, possibly America, UK, and that sort of thing. It's like this wake up phenomenon because, it's so blatant once you wake up to the fact of what you're actually watching on TV or what you're actually reading in the newspaper or what you're actually seeing when Julia Gillard speaks on the TV or Tony Blair or fucking Obama or something. What you're actually hearing them say. You're not listening to what they're reading off the prompter or the shit that they're spewing, or like you listen for that one word and you're like, oh, okay, so you're actually going to go and kill people. Like, you know what I mean? Like they go, we're going to send a strategic strike force in to, counteract the forces which are fucking... And you go, oh, okay, so you're actually going to go against the UN and you're going to go in and kill people. Oh, okay, cool. So now I know what you're actually doing. And when you actually... when you actually fucking, properly wake up and see the fucking world for what it is, it's just... it's an insane asylum. It is literally everyone is fucking absolutely crazy, and everyone just watches and runs with it. Like everyone, your family, your friends, like everyone, it's because of this and this and this and this is why they're doing this and this is, it's because you've watched it on TV and you haven't formulated your own opinion about it.
I mean, and that's all very well for you and me to say, but like, we've put in a fair bit of effort. I'm sure there's a shitload we don't know yet, and we probably, and many people who've been doing what you and I have been doing for a lot longer probably think that we're just, naive and we're just going along with it. But, it's hard. Like, do we ever know what the fuck's going on? It makes me, I've been thinking about it a lot lately, like, really, what actually even matters? Like, what is... I find this stuff interesting to start with. Just pure, I find it interesting, it entertains me, it amuses me to look into all this stuff and how the world works and all that stuff. But then when you start to make it personal and you start to care because you think, fuck, this is fucked. And I feel like there's injustices being committed here, and I would like it if they were reversed and fixed. And I would like to be a part of that process of fixing these things. But then I sort of start thinking, well, it seems like this must occur for so many people throughout the ages, for all of civilization, where there's always activists, and that's what we are. We're just activists. We're just activists, middle of the road activists, just like there were activists over the last thousands of years. There's always going to be people who question the government, question the situation, hope that things, realize things could be better, realize how they could be better and why and what the injustices are, try and fight for it. But at the end of the day, that's just the role that we're playing. And I feel like maybe this isn't a special time where really we're actually fighting for the one that's going to actually succeed, the revolution that's actually going to happen, we're actually going to get justice.
Well, if you thought that there was a revolution that was going to cause massive change, that was the 60s, and they got so far and they did so amazingly, and we're talking like just a labour revolution in America alone, and like the fucking workers' rights and fucking and drug revolution and the free thinking revolution and the peace revolution after Vietnam and all this shit. Like they were on the fucking streets in the fucking millions, like on the fucking streets and like not on their computer writing posts on Facebook, like on the fucking streets, uniting as a fucking a defense mechanism against the system. And what happened? 5 years later, they fucked it off. The system took it over again. But see, the problem that we're facing today, the situation that we're facing, is that we might not have a fucking future for our children.
Yeah, because the environment.
Because of the population density, because of the amount of oil we're burning, and because of the environment, and also because of humanity. Sure, okay, might be fucking, a bit of rhetoric with North Korea, nuke this, nuke that. Fuck it. Probably only a matter of time before another nuke goes off. India, Pakistan, then what? Okay, why not another one? Another one. What could we hit a nuclear war in the future? Is there a possibility that the world, that two superpowers in the next war, because there will be another war, let's be fucking serious. Is there a possibility in the next war that there could be a threat? And yes, of course. Okay, so nuclear war. Okay, and that could be the end of life and planet. Yeah. We could have another earthquake, another nuclear reactor goes down like Fukushima, which is completely possible. They're saying that Fukushima one, if you actually don't listen to the mainstream and listen to what's actually still getting reported, is the biggest disaster in the history of humanity. And they're saying it's only just started. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of years before this goes away. And like... we are fucking babies. We are absolute babies with all this technology, and we have absolutely psychopathically indoctrinated people running the world.
Yeah.
And we as a human species, you know what? We got the numbers. We can do anything we want. Yeah. We've got the power. But all it takes is information, and people have got to fucking wake up and start listening to it.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think you're right. Like I said before, I'm sort of torn always between this constant, like, are we just doing the same old thing many people have done in the past, or is this actually different this time? And the thing that makes me think it is different this time is, like you said, it's the urgency with addressing the nuclear situation and the environment situation, in the fact of things like global warming, if you believe in global warming, and like the countless other environmental issues that arose
extinction
from
rate,
population. It's just
like Monsanto. Like there's just some.
I think also another
shit.
thing that makes me think this time is different is the internet. There's never ever been such a networking of everyday people, which has taken the power away from the government and to the people, and given the people finally a chance to have a voice, regardless of whereabouts you are. And another reason why I think this one's different is because this time, perhaps we're asking for something different now. Like, maybe this time we're not asking for the government to change something and reform something and stop going to war, please, government. Maybe we're going to say, no government, thank you very much.
Yeah, take away the government. Take away why we can know the source of the problem. We've been through it. If there's one fucking lesson that we have been able to learn in human history, it's power corrupts. You can't put... Governments can control armies.
Governments just...
corporations don't have armies.
They are a magnet for corrupt people. For power-hungry people. Yeah. Government positions are a magnet for psychopaths.
Yeah,
that's where they want to be.
See, the one thing is that, governments can possess armies. I don't think a corporation could nearly get big enough to possess an army that could fucking take over the world. Like, you know what I mean? You got this patriotism, statism thing that is just...
The thing is, a corporation can't do that, because if a corporation has an army, no one's going to buy their product because they think that they're fucked.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, you can't do... Like, the power of the free market, will a lot of the time dictate correct behaviour. Obviously, that's one of the main obstacles we have here. If you let the market go free, is ensuring informed customers and consumer buying is ethical. But I'm sure that's something that if you really wanted to create a free market that worked, you could really try and make that happen by having advertising that's correct. Let's have labelling that's correct. I don't know. I'm sure that there's ways around that, but.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like the state is a problem.
I mean, like Stephen Molyneux said, for 5,000 years we've had governments. I don't know, probably longer, whatever. But what makes us think that number 5,001 times we try, it's going to work this time?
Yeah.
It's fucking not going to work. When are we going to learn?
It doesn't work.
That it has not worked and it will never work. And every time we create a government, we are settling for second best, because we're saying that, all right, okay, we can't do it ourselves yet. We're not quite ready. We need someone to help us out. And you can patch up all the little things that need patching up, like maybe some people who need welfare and all that sort of stuff. But why don't we just go for it this time? Like, maybe we don't need them.
Yeah.
Let's figure out something else, and all these problems that, obviously there's a lot of questions that come up when you talk about anarchy.
About the world. Imagine if just massive protests started happening all over the world with people with banners. It's like, no more government. Like, can you imagine I tell you what. If you fucking think you've heard of martial law before, there will be fucking some martial law going on. But I think that
the only way that could happen
that would be a fight to the death.
Do you know why that wouldn't happen though? Because the protesters who were requesting no government, they're not going to go and ask the government if they can have no government. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
To say if you want to really let the country know, or your fellow people, whatever, or the government itself in power know that you no longer need them anymore and you don't want a government, you just have to no longer rely on the government anymore. Yeah. You have to make them irrelevant, and that's, I think that's one of the most powerful lessons of today's revolution is we've got to stop fighting the things we don't like and trying to get rid of them, and we have to just start creating a world which we do want, creating the new world and creating a world where we don't rely on things. So we need to start being independent as communities and growing our own food for starters, for fuck's sake. That's the first thing we all need to start doing, is start growing our own food and stop relying on the government for handouts. Stop, make them irrelevant. I think that's the only way to do this.
It's never going to happen. Well, it's never going to happen because people just are too comfortable in their life at the moment. They don't understand how good their life could be when they don't have to rely on anyone for anything, and they don't have to rely on corporations for anything. For interest's sake, like you can go to your neighbours and get some potatoes, and you can go to the other neighbours get some tomatoes. You can. So I think the corporation situation. Or you can go down the market and get it or whatever, but the way that the system is structured and the power is structured is something that is so reliant on our way of life today, and there's no way that you could break it.
I know, but it's kind of like the question of like I said before, what really matters and what is happiness. How do people really want to live their lives? And, people can only really compare and figure out what it is they want when they've seen something that they want. And everything's relative. Who are we to say that we can't spark people into action when they're comfortable in their life, just like you said, because they don't have any need to change.
Yeah, no, they want that. They need a good vital destruction that will fucking affect their friends and family.
Then again, maybe some people are happy being sheep, or maybe that's not fair to say to anyone, because when you're a sheep, you don't have the ability to make that call whether or not you're happy because you're not making choices for yourself. I don't know, but I feel like, how can we expect people to give a fuck when they're comfortable? I think that might be a little bit rude of us to expect that of them.
Well, I mean, you get certain people that have been lucky enough to be able to see the world for what it really is, and you can say, look, at whatever, 5, 10, 20 years, no matter how long it takes, something is eventually going to collapse. It has to.
And
there's absolutely no way it can't.
And what affects the individual personally?
Which means the whole society.
Which means that now they need to care. So it's like the only reason people are going to care, really, the two things that I think that spark their own caring is if they see injustices and they have a strong sense of justice, and they want to right the wrongs. That's one thing that makes people care. And the other one is the belief that they think that it's going to affect them personally at some point, or already does affect them. And those are both of those things are really, at the end of the day, completely selfish reasons. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I just mean that people really only do things for their own reasons. And so until people are personally involved in either of those two ways, I see no reason why things aren't going to change. Things are going to change.
No, well, they're not. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, given the way the system is run, there's absolutely no way that we're going to get out of this on a good wicket. Unless we change before it happens.
Another risk is because one way in which people won't be sparked into action is because they won't see how this is affecting them, because it'll happen on such a slow time scale, or a gradual slippery slope
until it's
so bad,
it drops off
even to the point when it's still so bad, because it's happened over a gradually people don't feel that intenseness of it.
I mean, you can look at any sort of graph or statistic at the moment with the amount of hours worked, the amount of productivity in workplaces, and I mean, it's all saying, like, everyone is working harder and getting paid less. It's the same as America. Ever since that's why we had the last year global financial crashes, because in America from 1970 till today, till 2011, the wage, not even the minimum wage, but the wage didn't go up. Like, and everyone was praising these CEOs for fucking having so much, being so business savvy. These fucking geniuses. They just weren't fucking paying anyone anything. So everyone had to get more credit. Eventually, you can't pay the credit back. The bubble bursts. You have a GFC. The banks get bailed out, and they fucking and then they fucking make more money from all fucking. This system is ultimately flawed.
It's fucked.
Ultimately, there's absolutely no way. Eventually, all you've got. This is why I sign up to Peter Joseph. Eventually, all you've got is physical nature of things. Okay, and the physical nature of things is that I have a rock here, and it's got something in it. Okay, so that means that resource is something that I need to protect or use sustainably, so I've got more for future generations, and I've also got enough for me. Yeah. So we need to do an inventory of all this stuff on the planet, and then...
I think it's like...
But also, we need a sustainable system. Sorry, let me just finish it. We need a sustainable system. And the sustainability means progression. And what progression means is the opposite of conservatism. So conservatism seems to be winning the day at the moment. Less government, bigger free market, and what we're going to do is, that's what conservatism is.
Less government's winning at the moment?
Less government.
It's winning at the moment?
Yeah, definitely.
You think that's less government's winning at the moment?
It is.
I don't think so.
No, it is, but you have to see it in the grand scale.
Government's getting bigger.
In the grand scheme of things. No, they're not. They're actually not.
No, I think they are.
No, they're not. They're actually not.
All
right. They're not, because what we're dealing with is all the most powerful countries of the world. Corporations are now part of governments. Okay, because there's no way governments are still in power if corporations aren't. So governments are simply corporations. Yep. So governments aren't getting bigger; they're just getting bigger funding from outside of the government, which makes them seem bigger. They're actually not. It's yeah.
Well, I mean, just in the case of America, I think that's probably. I mean, that's true too. But I think that the governments are expanding. Like, there's more departments being created as everything happens.
I don't know about that, yeah. I don't know. I actually don't know. Yeah. But,
well, it's like the economy has become this convoluted web of confusion and trade where you can never really see the start and the end of a trade-off, to the point where, you've got all this money in value, which is completely disconnected from its original intent and its product that it's going for and the value. So it's just, I think...
Jess is home.
Hey.
Hello, Jess.
So that disconnect within the money system.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes it really hard to figure out what I'm distracted.
Oh, yeah? Just because a housemate comes home doesn't mean that you have to be distracted,
Yeah, alright, well, anyway, I just want to go through a few facts about oil, actually, because it's actually supposed to be about oil.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to say, let's see, we use 30 billion barrels, which is 4.8 kilometres cubed of oil per year globally. 4.8 kilometres cubed. That's so scary. About 80% of the world's readily accessible reserves located in the Middle East. So that's why, obviously, that they're being,
invaded.
Yeah, invaded. One of the theories I heard also was, obviously, China's rapidly expanding economy is making them more dependent on oil. And America, I think, are licking their lips about that because it helps their situation where they can use their military might to gain access to the oil so that they have that leverage over China despite the amount of debt that they're into China. Which is one of the reasons why apparently there's a theory why they put themselves in Afghanistan, because they're actually there to separate the Middle East from China, so that because it's geographically in between, so that they can make sure they can't get into the pipelines through.
Probably.
No, really, I think that's it.
No, it's probably
Yeah,
fucking I don't know.
Well, if you look at the strategic positioning of all the places that they have occupied in the Middle East, it's kind of really quite convenient, like as in really, really well thought out, long planned stuff.
Isn't it bullshit that we have to fucking try and
connect the dots? So conventional crude oil production has peaked and is depleting at 6.8% per year. That's a lot.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're doing that on purpose just to rise the price.
Well, yeah, there is a conspiracy theory about the fact that people say.
I think that's just a theory. I don't think it's a conspiracy.
No, that'd be a conspiracy, definitely.
Well,
no, it's people conspiring.
That we could be running out of
people
oil.
Conspiring to tell everybody around the world that there's no oil left, so that they can.
Yeah. So.
By 2012, surplus oil production capacity could entirely disappear, and as early as 2015, the shortfall in output could reach nearly 10 million barrels per day. Oh, okay. It is estimated that about 13% of the world's undiscovered oil resides in the Arctic. Well, luckily for us, we're burning so much oil that we're putting so much carbon emissions in the air that the Earth's getting warmer, and all the ice in the Arctic is melting, so we can go and get more. Yay! Yay for the Arctic ice melting, so we can mine it. Because I'm joking, but recently the Greenpeace have actually just succeeded in a massive campaign that they were running to stop shale drilling in the Arctic.
Shale.
Shell.
Oh, right.
Shell company.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if they've completely stopped them forever, but I think just temporarily. And it was really cool, actually. They went up there and they put a time capsule in the snow with all the names of all the people who voted online. I was one of them. I don't know if you did too. Like millions of people online who voted to help support the Greenpeace's movement in stopping the oil drilling. Anyways, that's nice, but I'm just a bit worried about whether or not that time capsule is going to last the next 15 years, because it's supposed to melt in a few. Okay. So that's basically my facts.
Well done.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, I think, if we bring anything home in this podcast, it's more just to the point of how serious the nature is of what oil means to you as a human being. Some people might have never even thought of it, but litres of oil in every tyre, paint job, cars don't run and your food doesn't get delivered to you. If someone spikes the price of oil, your food goes up, your healthcare goes up, everything goes up. So oil is a strategic part of the world we live in, and don't in no way, shape or form think that it's there's always something strategic going on about the fact that when prices go up at the petrol pump, people are doing that for a particular reason, and don't think you might get a slight dip down for a week here or there, but don't think that those prices are going down in any way, shape or form for a long time. In the next 5 years, I'll be up to another $1.60, $1.70, $1.80. That'll be $2 in probably $2 in 5 years.
I saw a theory where the predictions of the future come when shit gets really bad and everything fucks up. Yeah. The demand for oil will go so low that it'll be really cheap. And that'll actually fuck up the whole economy, because it will mean that America have no value in their dollar, because the oil is really backing up their value of the dollar.
Oh, look,
But anyways, there's lots of crazy
theories. The economy is set to fail.
But,
it's actually asking to fail, yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's important for everybody out there to remember that there's wars and absolute horror happening in places like Iraq, or that are being waged all in the name of oil, and all in the name of empire and the maintaining the power and status quo that America and the Western world have, just so we can have the luxuries in life that we have. And it's just crazy to think of it like that. Like, that's actually what they're fighting for. We are doing these things. We are going over in... Okay, I say we're part of America, basically. Yeah. We're going over to Iraq just so we can ensure that we can continue our lifestyle. That's why we're doing it. And whether or not we're supporting the government for doing it. The government are doing it for that reason. To support the economy, which supports us. Yeah. So it's pretty fucking crazy when you go and consume whatever it is you consume in your daily life, and just remember all the people that are dying for you to be able to have what you've got. And just today I was looking at the shelling and bombing of places like Iraq where they're using radioactive material, depleted uranium, and it's absolutely awful. Like there is bits of depleted uranium just scattered around the countryside, which is obviously fucking up everyone's...
Birth deformities, everything.
Oh, that's awful. And this stuff is radioactive for 4 billion years. That's the age of the Earth. That's they're going to be there. I'm going to the Middle East soon. I'm actually considering not going... I'm not sure even if I could get into Iraq, but I was going to try. I was going to fucking damn well try. I'm considering not going because of that.
Good.
But it's just we are completely fucking up every little corner of the world.
Yep, and like I said, once again, I mean to end this, to sign this off, and on a very positive podcast, but to sign it off, this change doesn't come from anyone but you and me and the everyday person walking around the street that you see catching the bus or walking on the train. That's where the change comes from. No letter to your politician, no nothing. It's not going to change. The system isn't geared for that. These people have been working their whole life and have been studying their whole life to think what they know and what they want to do is best for you. And look, if you're sitting here, if you're listening to this, or you look at watch the news and seeing people get bombed, and then if that's what is best for you, then go fuck yourself. But if it's not, then you got to stand up for what you think is right, and you got to use everything you can, and tell as many people as you can to try and make it right.
Make a world where the things you don't agree with are made obsolete. Let's make the government obsolete. But you know what one thing that oil did do for us? It saved the whales.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we used to get whale oil. Yeah. We used to get
whale oil was used to light lamps and give us light, and then when they discovered oil, they didn't have to kill the whales.
Because they ran out of sperm whales. That's actually what happened. So
it was too expensive.
It's a whale's fault.
It's all the whale's fault.
We could have
We could either chose a world free of oil dependence or
no sperm whales.
No sperm whales. I mean, wait, is that right? Yeah. Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But no, we used to get oil from sperm whales, and they couldn't find enough sperm whales.
It's becoming too expensive.
They're like, what's this shit in the ground? And then they started burning that, and then they're like, jackpot, baby. And that was that. Anyway.
And that was that. So that's the end of that story.
All right.
See you for the next story.
Thanks, guys. Bye.